Are you struggling to stay consistent because you simply don't know what to blog about next? Well, today we're putting an end to that. So make sure you listen all the way to the end because I'll be sharing with you my best kept secrets to not only launch and promote your blog, but to do it consistently. So let's get started. Welcome to the Yes to You podcast, where we empower women to manifest their vision of happiness and success with down-to-earth practical guidance for conscious living, personal growth, and entrepreneurship. Our goal is to see you take inspired action by saying yes to your calling. I'm your host and founder of RohiniWellness.com, Dominique D. Wilson. And now, let's get into the topic of the hour. Welcome to episode 6 of the Yes to You podcast. Today, we are going to be exploring a very fun topic, which is blogging. But before I get into that, I want to take a moment to give a few shout outs to some people who have been showing love to the podcast. First and foremost, I want to give a huge thanks to my family. My mom for being super supportive, offering me feedback on all the episodes. My dad for going out, sharing the episodes with all of his friends in his network. My sisters for their feedback and inspiration. In particular, my big sister, Crystal, I'm super grateful. Crystal is actually the brains behind the wellness tip. That was totally her idea to insert that into the show. So thank you so much for your amazing idea. It helps to bring a lot more value to the listeners. So I'll start with Tiffany C. Yogi, who left a review on iTunes saying, "Beautiful sister, I love it." Thank you, Tiffany. I appreciate you. The next shout out goes to Ivan Jose, who left a review on Facebook. Ivan says, "All my ladies should really check this out. Sending more positive vibes to everyone. Much love." Much love to you as well, Ivan. Thank you for that. Next shout out goes to Bianca, who says, "Thank you so much for this, Dominique. I've listened to all 3 episodes and they were so helpful, uplifting, and informative. Peace and blessings to you." Wow, peace and blessings to you as well, Bianca. Next shout out goes to Ariana. "Thank you, Dominique. This was so informative and helpful. I appreciate you." Oh, thank you, Ariana. I appreciate you as well. Next shout out goes to Libby Wallace, who says, "Wow, absolutely love this. You are such an inspiration and I can't wait to hear more from your podcast. Keep inspiring, beautiful soul." Libby Wallace is actually another podcaster at the Self-Wealth Project, so make sure you go check her out. Thank you so much, Libby. Next shout out goes to Carmen. "Dominique, I listened to the first one while waiting for Dylan at swim practice. You are amazing, a natural healer and inspirer." Thank you so much, Carmen. I so appreciate your words of affirmation. Thank you, everyone. So that does it for today's shout outs. Be sure to share this episode on social media using hashtag #YesToYou, and I will give you a shout out on a future episode. Now, as I said before, today we are going to be talking about all things blogging, including why you should even care about starting a blog, how to find your unique voice as a blogger, and how to actually launch and promote your blog and stay consistent with the practice of blogging. So often we get started with our blog, we're really excited at the beginning, but then we run out of ideas for content. So we are going to be talking about what to do about that so that you can stay consistent. You'll see how blogging can support you in your personal and professional goals, especially as an entrepreneur. So all that and more as soon as we return from this short break. Body, mind, spirit. This is your weekly wellness tip. Today's wellness tip is on winter skincare. It's winter, it's cold, there's not much moisture in the air, which means the air is a lot drier. So it's very easy for our skin to get dry and irritated. And I want to share with you just a few things that you can do to mitigate that. Number 1 is to use the right combination of moisturizers. A lotion or cream is a must-have in your skincare regimen, especially if you have dry skin. Although oil is great, it is not a moisturizer. It's actually water that carries moisture across the surface of the skin. So oils and butters can be great emollients that provide a barrier to help lock in moisture after you've already used a lotion or a cream. And for best results, the best time to do this is right after a bath or a shower. My second winter skincare tip is to eat well. You want to eat foods that are rich in omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids because these are going to help you maintain moisture in the skin. This can be salmon, sardines, tuna, cod liver oil, or if you're vegan, use flaxseed oil, pumpkin seeds, walnuts, and avocados. You also want to make sure that you're nourishing the skin with antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals that alkalize the body and detoxify your skin to help keep that beautiful glow. So these are going to be your dark leafy green vegetables and bitter greens such as kale, Swiss chard, watercress, arugula, etc., etc. And also make sure that you're getting your daily dose of vitamin E, which is also going to provide antioxidant support. Vitamin E also helps with collagen repair, which promotes beautiful aging. My third winter skincare tip is to stay hydrated. Most of us are not drinking enough water, so if you don't know how much water you should be drinking, just go with the old rule of at least 8 glasses a day. And if you're not sure if you're getting enough water, you want to look for signs. A big one is actually your lips. Those are usually the first indicators. If your lips are dry, chapped, and peeling, this is usually a sign of dehydration. And of course, you want to limit your intake of things like coffee, beverage teas, and alcohol because these are diuretics. In other words, they pull water out of the body and therefore reduce your level of hydration. And for my fourth and final winter skincare tip, add some moisture to the air. It's winter, the air is dry. Many of us also have the heater running, so this leads to a lot more moisture being pulled out of the skin because our environment is so dry. So you want to make sure that, especially if you do have the heater running, that you also add some moisture to the air. You can use a humidifier or a cool mist humidifier. Cool mist humidifiers are actually a great option if you have psoriasis or eczema because they won't be irritating to the skin. So there you have it, 4 winter skincare tips to help you maintain your radiant glow. And now, back to the show. Welcome back to the show. As I said, today we are going to be talking about all things blogging, but before we get into the tips and strategies, I want to go over really quickly why blogging is such a big deal. Yes, there are still people out there who actually read blogs. And if you have a business, of course, you need a website. And if you have a website, you should have a blog on your website. And here are 5 reasons why. Blogging empowers your mindset, your message, your mission, your mastery, and your magnetism. Let's look at each one of those. Blogging empowers your mindset by helping you to get clarity. If you are a highly creative person, which I'm assuming that you are if you're listening to the Yes to You podcast, chances are you have a lot of ideas. We live in the information age, so you're probably good at a lot of different things, and you're probably interested and passionate about lots of different things. This can be a huge momentum killer if we don't at some point buckle down and get clarity on what it is that we are really here to do. Blogging empowers your mindset by helping you to start getting clarity on what it is that you really want to talk about, what it is that really lights you up, and how you really use that to connect with other people to enrich their lives as well. So that's how blogging empowers your mindset. Blogging empowers your message by helping you to get better at telling your story. Many of us have never even told our story of the challenges, the obstacles, the adversity that we've overcome. That right there, your story is gold. That's much more valuable than a pretty picture on your website or a really professional looking product. Your story is what actually connects with other people. That's what helps them to get to know who you are. That's what impacts them. And that's what helps other people to have a shift, a transformation in their lives. So by starting a blog, you actually create a platform for yourself to share your story, to share insights, and to teach other people things, but to weave bits of your story into that so that they can see the connection and see a reflection of themselves in the content that you put out there. So that's how blogging empowers your message. Blogging empowers your mission by increasing engagement among your audience, your ideal customers, your ideal clients, your followers. When people come to your website, they're looking at one thing usually. They either clicked a link on social media, saw a flyer somewhere, maybe they heard about your website, but once they've looked at that thing that they came to the website for, if they don't make the decision to invest in your products or services at that particular moment, having a blog gives them a reason to stick around on your website and to learn a little bit more about you and what it is that you have going on. If you don't have a blog, once they've looked at your service or your product or whatever it is that you brought them to your website for, if they're not interested at that moment in investing, there's nothing else for them to do on your website. So having a blog empowers your mission by increasing engagement among the people that you really want to connect with. It gives you an opportunity to build that know, like, and trust factor, right? Because people don't buy from strangers. They buy from and invest in people who they know, people who they like, and people who they trust. So that's how blogging empowers your mission. Blogging empowers your mastery by positioning you as an authority in your field, as an expert in your niche. When you create that platform for yourself to be able to deliver educational content of high value to people and help them to have their own shift, helping them to get results, this positions you as the expert. So that's how blogging empowers your mastery. And finally, magnetism. Blogging empowers your magnetism because it helps you to literally magnetize and attract the people who are most in alignment with the programs, products, and services and the mission that you came into this life to offer. Not only do you attract your ideal soulmate clients through the content that you put out, but you also create an opportunity to network with other influencers in your industry or in your niche. Having a blog, again, gives you a platform. It gives you something that you can offer to people, something people can connect with, and you never know what types of opportunities may come out of that. So there you have it, 5 reasons to start a blog to empower your mindset, your message, your mission, your mastery, and your magnetism. Now, let's get into how to find your unique voice as a blogger. If you've listened to episodes 1 through 5 of this podcast, you probably know by now that I am a huge proponent of having a vision before you start anything, whether that be a blog, writing a book, starting a business, launching a project of any sort. You have to have a vision because this is what's going to direct all of your actions. All of the content that comes after that is going to be based on the vision. So if you haven't already, I highly recommend that you go back and listen to episode 2 in particular when I talked about how to create a bold vision for your inspired life. I went through a 4-step process that you can actually use in your journal or using my free download, the Create Your Vision workbook, to literally write out your vision step by step and break it down into sizable chunks so that you can actually see what it is that you want to create. At the end of the day, everything that we do out in the world is for ourselves in some way or another. And so it's very important to be able to make the connection between the activities that you do in your business, on your website, out in the world, and what you're actually personally getting out of it. Your vision, your personal vision for your life is literally what is going to fuel every decision that you make, whether that's dealing with your community impact, your career, with your finances. Everything boils down to what it is that you want, and that's based on your core values and your desires. So make sure that you go back and listen to episode 2, and no worries if you're on the go, I will link all of this in the show notes so that you can come back and refer to it at a later time. So once you know what your vision is, the next step would be to look at what your core values are. These are your top 3 to 5 highest values. Your values are the driving factors behind all of your behaviors, all of the decisions you make throughout your entire life. So it's very important that you are clear on what those values are. And there's an amazing assessment by Dr. John Demartini called the value determination process that you can use. It's completely free. You can do it online in about 30 minutes or so. And I will put a link for that in the show notes as well. So you've got your vision, you've got your values. The third component of finding your voice is to think about who your ideal reader is. Now, if you're just starting out, you may not know who this person is. So this is where you get to play a little bit and let your imagination come into the equation. For this exercise, I do recommend that you go back and listen to episode 5, which is on how to launch a holistic business. There was a segment in there when I talked about how to define who your ideal client or who your ideal audience member is. It's going to be the same thing for your ideal reader. So you want to think about who is going to be reading your blog. This is going to help you to find your style and your voice as a writer, because a blog is not just some article. Don't think of it as like the New York Times. No, a blog post is a conversation between you and another person. If you were sitting across the table and you and your ideal client are having tea, that conversation is a blog post. So every post that you write, you're writing to someone. So who is that person? take a little time and write down a description of them. And again, refer back to episode 5 for some more guidelines on how to do that. So now you have a vision, you have your values down, you know who your ideal reader is. This is all going to help you understand why you are blogging in the first place and what the point is. If you don't know that, it makes it very difficult for you to maintain a consistent practice of blogging because you will run out of things to talk about if you're not really sure what the core theme is and why you're doing it in the first place. And sometimes life happens, right? We get stressed out, we get a bunch of stuff thrown on our plate that we didn't expect. So what is going to motivate you to keep on blogging in those moments when maybe you don't feel like it? Your why, these 3 things, your vision, your values, and that ideal reader out there who needs to hear your message. Knowing these 3 things is going to help you power through any obstacles so that you can maintain a consistent blogging practice that is not only inspiring and fulfilling to you, but also making an impact out there in the world. So now we've laid a foundation for what it is that you want to write about, the overall theme of your blog. You know who you're going to be writing to. Let's talk a little bit about launching and promoting your blog. As I said, when it comes to blogging, consistency is key. And in order to be consistent, you have to be organized. It doesn't require a huge, massive amount of structure. However, you do want to have some type of content calendar or a writing schedule. Now, if you're serious about leveraging the power of blogging in your business, I highly recommend that you publish at least 1 blog post every week. We live in a very fast-paced society with a lot of information coming at us, so you want to make sure that you're putting yourself in front of your ideal readers as often as possible. So just have an idea of how often it is that you want to write a blog post. Once you have an idea of how often it is that you'd like to publish a new blog post, the next step would be to think of some kind of format that you're going to use for each post. Of course, you don't want every blog post to look the same. That can get boring after a while. But you do want to have some kind of structure to each post so that when you have a quick spur of the moment idea that hits you, you can literally start typing out the blog post and it won't take you forever to organize it because you already have in line some kind of organized outline or structure that you're going to use for every post, no matter what style of post it is. For example, you might start your blog post with a quick hook and an intro, and then list 3 main points you want to talk about, expound on each of those points, close out with a conclusion, and then end your blog post with some sort of call to action. That call to action could be, hey, check out my next post, invest in my services, buy my product, whatever that is for you. So you know how often you want to post, you have an idea of how you're going to structure each post. The next step is to come up with a list of topics that is going to be relevant to your why, right? It's that first stage that we were talking about when you're finding your unique voice, thinking about your vision, your values. This is where your story is going to be instrumental and also the characteristics of your ideal reader. As you're thinking about your own story, the challenges, the obstacles you've overcome, the lessons you've learned, and you're thinking about your ideal reader and the things they may be struggling with or the things they want to learn more about, some common themes will start to come to mind. So you want to grab a sheet of paper and just brainstorm a little bit. Write down some key words that are going to be relevant to your mission, your story, your values, but also to the desires, needs, wants, and pain points of your ideal readers. Once you have about 8 to 10 keywords written down, you can branch off of that and literally write all kinds of different blog posts. And I want to give you a few different ideas of post styles that you can use. One is what's called a list post. This is where you would create a bulleted list of some items such as 10 ways to make a smoothie or 5 things you didn't know about squirrels or whatever it is that you're talking about. List posts are very simple. They help you to crank out a blog post in no time because the first thing you do is jot down that list of things. Then you want to expound on each one, slap an intro and a conclusion on there and that call to action. Don't forget your call to action. And there you have it, a blog post. Another style of post you can do is what's called a curation post. This is where you would curate or collect a list of different items. They don't all have to be your original content. You might create a blog post entitled 10 books you should read this spring, 10 yoga retreats you must experience this year, Something along those lines. That's a curation post where you're just gathering items, listing them out, and telling your reader why they're important to you. And another style of post you might want to use is what's called a tutorial or a how-to post. You teach your ideal reader how to do something that you already know how to do. You might include photos or just list step by step. So these are just 3 ideas of how you can structure your content. So with those 3 styles of posts, the list post, the curation post, and the tutorial post, combined with that list of core themes that you come up with, you can literally churn out hundreds of different blog post ideas. And then combine that with the structure we talked about, how to outline your posts, put it on a calendar so that you know how often you'll be posting. And this process is what's going to make your blogging experience super easy, a lot more fun for you, and a lot more beneficial for your business. Finally, promoting your blog is simple. Tell as many people about your blog as possible. Post a link to your blog with a nice picture on social media. You want to make sure that if you have an email list, that you send your blog posts to your email subscribers. Again, in episode 5 of the podcast, I talked about how to create your platform, which includes your website as well as your social media presence. So again, make sure you go back and listen to that episode. Now, if you're looking for some additional support with social media, check out my ebook, How to Get Your Business Started on Social Media. I also offer a 90-minute private intensive where we can work one-on-one, and I will help you to set up your blog, set up your social media, whatever it is that you need help with. We can work together and you can literally pick my brain for an hour and a half. And if you want to go even deeper, you can check out my 4-week holistic business mentorship program called Launch Already. We will literally go from idea to a fully launched business in 4 weeks. I will leave all the links to this information in the show notes, so make sure that when you get a chance, you check that out. So my hope is that by now you are super fired up and excited about launching and promoting your blog, and that you now have some additional tools and strategies in your arsenal to go out there powerfully, make an impact, and keep your momentum without getting stuck or falling off the wagon. And hey, if you do fall off the wagon, it's no problem. Don't apologize, just get back on and keep blogging again. And on that note, I want to share an affirmation with you from the Heart Thoughts affirmation cards by Louise Hay. And it says, I express my true being. My wisdom and understanding of spirit increases, and I express more fully each day the inner beauty and strength of my true being. Wow, that's the power of what your blog can do for you. Can you imagine? So that about wraps it up for today's episode. If you have questions, comments, concerns, or an idea for another show, make sure you email me at feedback@yes2youpodcast.com. And make sure that you stick around for episode 7 because I'm going to be sharing with you some of my personal success secrets for how to present yourself with confidence as a public speaker. Very juicy topic. In the meantime, remember, you get to choose how you show up in life. Love yourself fiercely, own your story, and say yes to your calling. It was a pleasure to have you join us for this episode of the Yes to You podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to visit rohiniwellness.com/vision to download my free PDF starter guide, the Create Your Vision Workbook. If this episode was helpful for you, please leave us a review on iTunes. Also, when you share this episode on social media using hashtag #YesToYou, we'll give you a shout out on a future episode. We look forward to inspiring you next time, right here on the Yes to You podcast.